So now we have the neck mounted on a jig here to hold it in place so that we can work on it. And I'm going to spend most of my time now getting this thing set to where I think it's in its neutral spot, its flattest spot. And right now, I'm spending a lot of time looking at the neck, trying to get it nice and straight. This looks pretty good. There's a fall away at the very end, meaning that the frets slope down a little bit, which is perfect. We want that. But there seems to be somewhat of a bow in it from the first fret, like in here. So I'm going to try and straighten it a little bit more. So right now, what's in this guitar, the frets measure the width, looks like 85 thousandths, 90 thousandths, let me see, 85 thousandths, let me get another reading, 85 thousandths, make sure I'm not picking up any lacquer when I'm squeezing these, 88 thousandths, 87, 86, 85, 86 thousandths wide. This is saying that this stuff is 84 thousandths wide. So it's about the same width, and I don't mind the width of this wire. It's just a little bit low. Also, you have to be very careful if it's a nice lacquer, which this is not, that you don't destroy or mess up the lacquer. If you're messing with a rosewood or ebony fingerboard, you could sand down anything. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to really tape off the board. You don't have to worry about much except for chipping. So what I do is I use an old solder gun here. It's got a groove that I put in there on my grinder that actually sits on top of the fret like that. And what I do is I use this to heat up my frets as I pull them. It does two things. One, it releases any kind of glue that may be in the glue slot. And two, that also makes the wood expand so the fret comes out easier. I use a pair of surface ground little pullers like this. I prefer the little guys to pull frets. And I'm also going to use a fret guard so that I do not dent my fingerboard. Okay, all the frets are pulled out, and the next thing I'm going to do is clean off a little bit of this on top of here. Just very lightly get rid of whatever kind of gunk is left there from where the frets were pulled out. Let's see. A little bit at a time. Wet sanding. This is 600 paper that I have right now. And a little bit of naphtha. What I'm going to use is a fret slot saw, or fret slot cleaning tool. Cleaning saw, whatever. And I'm going to go into each fret slot and just go through them and clean them out and get all the gook out of there. Window crank lever opener. These are a couple rollers from some old closet roller doors. They're actually ball bearinged. I'm not exactly sure where I found them, but they're a good find. And then this is from a spline tool to put spline into a screen. And this is a piece of plexiglass that I cut and put slots in. And this allows me to move this down and up to adjust my radius. What we're going to do is cut our fret wire to size. So I always cut off the first inch because that part didn't get radiused correctly. The radius starts proper about after an inch, so I take about an inch off. I'm using surface ground nippers for this, a little bit bigger set. And then what I do is I take my fret wire and I put it up to my slot. And in this case, since there's no binding on the guitar, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Make it about, 3/16 bigger on each side. Sometimes a little bit more. Next process will be pressing frets inside of this neck. A couple of things before you start pressing frets. One of them is you have to have the right size radius call here to press in. Back in the day, people used to hammer frets. I still do sometimes if I have to, but I find that an arbor press like this is just... I've done so many refrets, and without this thing, I couldn't even imagine doing a refret, especially with a Stratocaster neck, Strat type neck that you can remove off the guitar and fret the whole entire thing on here. With a Gibson, you can get up, up to around here, and then you have to either come up with a different clamp method or depress them in, or you have to pound them in, depending. So right now I have a 9.5 inch radius inside of here because this neck is 9.5 inches and it graduates up to about 12 compound radius up here. So what I'm going to do is I'll tape off each slot as I go, because I'm going to put a little bit of super glue, siren acrylite, crazy glue, whatever you want to call it, inside of this slot just for insurance. After I press the fret, so that I get so that I just keep babbling. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue in the slot. Good. And then I like to take a business card and smooth it in the slot so that I fill the gap a little bit. Okay. And now that I have a bed of that in there, that's my insurance for the fret press. This stopped it from going all over the place. And that's fret number 5. I never start on number 1. I guess it's superstition, but I find it to be bad luck to start on 1. Somehow I find that if I make a bad press somewhere in the middle of the neck, the guitar player will find it. I don't know. So I give it a little push to make sure it's going where it should inside of my kerf that I honed earlier, and then I come down on it, make sure that I'm right centered on it. You don't want a weird press. There we go. That looks good. And bam. You don't want to crush it, but you want it to be in there. Pressed in really nice. So the next step is going to be to trim off some fret ends here before I start to file. I don't like to go right up against the wood because I always find that a flat file to take care of the fret ends here. I have a ton of files for this. I have beveled files like so, but I find this works best for me. I found this on the sidewalk on Landis Avenue one day, and next step is to bevel the fret ends. I have a bunch of different files here, but I really prefer this cheap little jeweler's file that I have. It's got a smooth end and pretty fine cut here, and then what I do is I'll do every end. I should start over here. That's where I was. Okay. So I'll do every end facing this way, just like that. And what this is essentially doing is it's really getting rid of the sharp fret end. Alright, I'm going to attempt to show you what I ended up with before leveling on my fret ends. That's a good shot, I guess. You can see. And I have plenty of meat here. I don't like my frets rolled back. Okay, so I've made a couple of very light passes on here with a leveling bar. It's just a precision ground piece of steel tube I bought from Stu Mac. just works great for me. And then this is some really old, worn out 220 that's on here, and I'm just using it just to telltale what's going on with the frets. I put magic marker on all the fret tops, and then I go and I just kiss them ever so lightly like this, and then that reveals to me high points, low points, anything I need to see. Final and favorite step is using 40000 steel wool to polish things up. If this were a nice lacquer fingerboard that I cared about not scratching, I wouldn't use this. I'm concentrating on being just on the frets as I'm doing this. This gives it that nice mirror, high mirror finish that we're looking for.